Hey guys, welcome back to Team Draft Super League. I'm Eric Froelich. I'm joined by Pro Tour champion Alexander Hayne. Alex, how you doing?
Hey everyone. I'm all right. I'm still in Japan, so it's morning for me.
Now, you said that you were in
yeah,
Japan, and now you just confirmed it again, and I'm still like 70-30 that you're in Japan right now.
All right.
You're kind of known for just a wee bit of trolling, so I'm gonna say 70-30 Japan, and we'll leave it at that. If your internet cuts out, then we know it's definitely not Canada.
No, I don't know. Internet back home in Canada is pretty bad. So, but yeah. So I'm still enjoying my time here in Japan. But I enjoyed dispatching Luis in the first round, even though I think I didn't play particularly well. But
yeah, I mean,
that's how it goes.
Caught the tail end of it. Definitely a really close game 3. Looks like your deck definitely has some power. You may have opened a rare or a mythic or 2 or 3, so
yeah,
definitely have some good late game.
Yeah, some pretty good late game. I mean, in game 1, I struggled. He had a fast start, and like I kept a hand with some cyclers basically, and like didn't draw into any early action really. So he kind of swarmed me before I couldn't afford to play my Lucas God and stabilize. And then
the game that you actually drew your
drawing game. Yeah, the game I drew my busted rare, I lost. Yeah, that's how.
I assume you sideboarded it out after that. So
I thought about it. No, I didn't. But yeah, like I actually in game 2 was interesting. It was a close race. Like I thought I was significantly ahead, but Luis played it really well to be able to draw a spell in the last turn to be able to win.
You drew a spell.
I drew like, well, not a instant or sorcery or non.
Drew an instant spell.
I get.
You drew.
Oh yeah,
instant.
was it a counter spell?
Yeah, you drew Essence Scatter.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you didn't pre-combat a pouncing cheetah, so
yeah, so you can get it.
That was our out.
Or pre-blocks a pouncing cheetah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think he conceded before even like going that far, so we needed a beginning combat because he didn't attack with everything. We need a nice flash breach to come down.
I could have the 2/3 flash haven, I guess, if he didn't know. I think exactly my hand.
Like I'll try to hold off this attack, bluff him. That would have been gas. All right, so we are 1-1. You got your match. I beat all of Siggy's rares, which was sweet. He cast Hour of Devastation, which was a giant beating because it meant that I had to take multiple more minutes to beat him in both of those games, and it's just kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
And then so we haven't seen Steve's deck yet. I haven't looked at Steve's deck yet. I assume he's got to be green, based on the fact that you guys are both blue-red, and our team only has Ben drafting a little bit of green. So I'll put him on that. Obviously, you can comment on it if you want to. Is Alex still there? Are any of us still here?
Deck lists are now. I'm still here. I don't know if my internet.
Yeah, it kind of froze for a while. I'm not sure where the deck lists are. Like, I don't have the link here right now, and I had all sorts of various computer issues during that round. My mouse stopped working, so I had to just go through a bunch of different upgrades of technology.
Yeah.
It's what happens when you're in America and not Japan, I guess. All right, so the match we're going to watch is going to be Ben S versus Siggy. 2 former members of Team CFB Ice.
Yeah, 2 members of the conglomerate.
Yeah, the conglomerate. 2 of the greatest teams ever mashed into one, putting up first and seconds in 1 consecutive Pro Tours.
Yeah. And then retiring immediately right on top.
Well, you have to sail off into the sunset.
Yeah.
We had nowhere else to go.
So since we both worked with both Siggy and with Ben, and who would you say is the true limited expert? Like, if you had to pick someone to be on your team for a team limited event.
Yeah, it's a tough call, but obviously they are 2 of the best. So I mean, I've got Ben as #1 limited player in my book, despite everyone on Twitter and Twitch chat and every other form of social media berating him for everything he's said and done over the past few months, which has kind of just been the best part of Team Draft Super League. It's just great to see Ben get bombarded by just everyone.
Oh, it is great. I mean, everybody has such differing opinions on Unlimited, which is one of the things that makes Magic great, is that, you know, people can have success doing all sorts of different things, and that, you know, there's not necessarily a consensus right answer because the formats change so quickly that we don't actually solve things, you know, or at least ideally we don't solve things.
Right, of course.
But, you know, fun fact about Siggy and Ben, though, apparently, like, 15 years ago, they had a sleep over together. You know, these guys are long friends. You know? And now they're going to battle it out, you know, on the pinnacle of Magic, that is the Team Draft Super League.
I mean, me, Ben, and Siggy were, playing Magic while you were in diapers, all up and down the East Coast. With Siggy in the Northeast in Boston, I was in DC, and of course Ben, you know, in the Southeast in Florida, and those were three of the toughest scenes in Magic. Like, if you wanted to get on the Pro Tour and, you know, just try to win a lot of local tournaments, you're looking at, you know, the Northeast was Your Move Games and Huey and just tons of Hall of Famers to go with Siggy. And the DC area, you know, I played against like Brock and Matt Lindy and Mike Long and Pete Lyer and just, you know, just tons of guys. Tongo Nation was a team back then. And then you'd have a lot of the guys from, you know, Philly coming down and, you know, your Pakulas and whatnot. And then, I mean, the Southeast, you had to beat a lot of people who were playing cards that they didn't even open. So, like, that was tough, too. And so it's just kind of just murderer's row of East Coast going on back then.
Yeah. You know, it's nice to hear these stories because it always makes me feel young. You know,
it's probably
even though you exaggerate. I think the time when I was in diapers, I think I'm a little bit older than you give me credit for, but I didn't
give you credit for being potty trained until much later in life, actually. I assumed you were wearing diapers up until about 11 or 12. I just ballparked it, though.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, you know, 2 years before you know, makes sense.
I'm trying to figure out things to say while we wait for Ben to figure out how to use a computer. I mean, we could be here literally all night.
Yeah. It could be, or all morning in my case, you know.
Yeah. All right. Do we have a schedule or something to put up? Take a look at what we've got coming up in future weeks.
Definitely yeah.
So next week is an off week, and then the rematch. So it's maybe the week 1 match, or very early on, Madison versus Peach Garden Oath. So
PGO.
Yeah, PGO just kind of played against everyone. Yeah, that should be a great matchup. Of course, we have Sam Black, Justin Cohen, and Matt Severa against the Beach Garden Oath, Huey Owen, and Reed. That's some good drafting talent. And those guys have won a lot of Team GPs. I mean, between the 4 teams in the top 4, we have a lot of Team GP wins. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, it's definitely going to be one to watch. I wouldn't want to miss it. And of course, the finals is the following week, which is, you know, hopefully going to be between the winner of that and them boys. But, you know, we have some more matches to play tonight to see. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think you guys are pretty favored. Yeah, I mean, our decks are fine, but they don't have, you know, those powerful rares that can kind of put you over the top. And I think the teams are pretty evenly matched as far as just, you know, playing Magic is concerned. And so the tiebreaker definitely goes there. I think you guys have the edge on decks. So, yeah, I mean, I think it'll be close. Hopefully we'll see a lot of Magic, and either way, we're going to have a good representative through to the finals. So, you know, I'm just looking forward to more good games. My games against Siggy were good. Looked like your match was outstanding. So, I mean, this format's just pretty good format. I know a lot of people have been saying how much they love it.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty good format.
So, that's a good thing. Do we have any update as to what is actually going on with our players? Sounds like we're ready. So let's take you down to some more Magic. Welcome back to Team Draft Super League. We've got Ben Stark, Team CFB with a win. Mike Sigrist, Team Dem Boys with a win. We've got round 2, kind of round 3, since we've had 2 matches played so far. Ben's deck, I don't even know. I never know. His hand looks okay-ish. I don't really know what he's got.
Looks like a pretty normal Ben deck.
Yeah.
Looks like
one
kind
creature
of
has
what
a
Ben
4-drop
with,
against Essence Scatter. Yeah, I mean, Siggy's hand...
Well, he just drew his own Essence Scatter, though, so it's kind of like...
We're evenly
bag,
matched.
Yeah. The other hand, it looks like Ben might be trying to play a bit of a slower game, certainly with this hand, and Siggy's got that Hour of Eternity, which... On the other hand, he just drew a really horrible red 2-drop that he cannot cast, so there's that.
Siggy vowed to me during testing on day 1 that he would never put that card in his deck, and he just didn't even take it in his red aggro decks and just wouldn't. He didn't want to have to risk having to play it.
I know. I had the option of taking that card, and I thought maybe this would be the correct pick, but the shame I'd get from Siggy, overwhelmed my sensibilities, and I decided that I wouldn't take it. Then Siggy takes it in his deck. He's bringing shame on both their houses here.
Yeah, so that's what he does best.
So looks like a bunch of cycling, and here we go. That's right, Ben. How do you feel about a lovely 2/2 for 2? And since it only costs 2 mana, if Ben gets to attempt to play Giant Spider, it's gonna meet the scatter.
It's got.
So it looks like Steve beat Luis on the back table, so it's now 2-1 for Dem Boys. That's what I like to hear. This game, I have no idea how this game's going, really. Ben is a master pulling, cats out of a hat. And here we go. Yeah, he's got some stuff, some sauce over here. 2/3 flyers tend to match up well against 2/2 flyers.
There is a blur in Siggy's hand.
That blur, yeah.
Like, it just looks like Ben's deck doesn't do much of anything, and going to the late game against a card like Hour is just, you're not going to win. So, I'm not really sure what Ben needs his game plan to be most successful here.
Right, like that's how Siggy likes to draft his decks. He likes to have something like a card like Hour that gives him inevitability. So he feels like if the game goes extremely long, he'll win. However, he often seems to go against that rule, playing 2/2s for 2 in his deck, or as we saw in a previous round where he got decked out by Matt Severa.
That was unreal.
Random Boros deck, when Siggy's playing a big black-green deck. So it doesn't always work out, but the idea at least is there that you're gonna build your deck in a way that you can trade off resources, and if you survive long enough, that you'll win. Ben seems to be much more of the strategy of drafting. Well, normally seems to be more of the strategy of drafting. Good cheap creatures and good curve and good tricks and good removal. In team draft, he seems to be more of the take cards from various colors.
Yeah, his number one strategy is to mess up the people around him as much as he can. And he came out the first thing he said after this draft is, "My deck's not great, and I couldn't really do much of anything to mess up anyone else." I'm like, okay, well, great.
All right. Yeah.
I mean, the problem with that strategy in a draft like this is that we didn't open good cards, so it's not like we've got those bombs to kind of fall back on. But the cards in the draft were of high quality, so we can cut you, but you're still getting a good card, and then we're not getting a card for our deck, and then we also just don't have the bombs that got open, so you're just kind of pretty far behind on all fronts, no matter what you do when that happens. And so, if it's a low power draft, maybe we can make it so your decks are, a couple bombs that you might have opened and garbage, but that just wasn't really the case. So there just really wasn't a ton you could do.
Yeah. So it looks like Siggy here decided to pull the trigger on his Hour just to make a 4/4 flyer. And
I'm not doing a mountain is certainly good for Ben. And this puncturing blow. That's how Siggy had me with a puncturing blow. I had to open fire my own Sun something champion, whatever the 2/3 is that gained life, and then bring that back and beat him with that. It was my only creature, and I had a Mighty Leap, so. Puncturing blow on this
so
one guy.
you're talking.
I feel like our internets have it so that you hear what I'm saying 2 or 3 seconds after I say it. It creates some nice overlap.
So, that's definitely possible, but I think here Ben, is in a pretty spot. I think with his tricks up, that like Siggy can't really attack that profitably because his creature will probably get farmed to market, and if Ben first gets the option of blocking first and then forcing Siggy to use his trick, it's not that bad since it puts a counter on it, so it's gone like forever. But I think if you're Siggy here, the deck list, it's probably right to just send with the squad. The thing is that Ben has the backup trick of +2/+2, so it's probably not going to work out in Siggy's favor.
Yeah, definitely an interesting spot for Siggy to figure out what makes the most sense for him. The real question comes, let's say Ben blocks, the 2/3 flyer on the aerial guide and the striker on the 2/2. Is Siggy just going to go ahead and fire that puncturing blow off in combat? In which case, he gets pretty blown out by the synchronized strike.
So, well, first of all, the 2/2 certainly is not going to be able to block because the aerial guide's going to give flying to Siggy's Kenra. But
he could give flying to the menace creature. That's a 4/4 menace over there.
That's true.
So I'm really not sure. Like all the options are on the table. He's just going to pass.
Yeah, that's
secret option number 3. Well, that's good for Ben.
Yeah. Is it? I think
he would prefer that the attack happen and blow out Siggy, but when your opponent's turn is just island go, that when you were on the back foot a turn prior, I understand Ben has the tricks and the attack would have. It's probably right for Siggy if he had perfect information and not attack period, but that can't be bad for Ben. Anytime your opponent does nothing, it's a positive, and the hour's already in the graveyard, so the late game is not as tumultuous, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. So the fact that Siggy's used his hour this early stage of the game does mean that he basically loses inevitability that he could otherwise have had. That's a reasonable draw from him, though. Of course, without a desert, it's not quite as effective. But
this draft was crazy for how many insane desert cards were in the draft and how few deserts there were. I think every single drafter wanted to have several more deserts. Like I second picked in pack 3 a Painted Bluffs.
Yeah, that's something. Like that's one area you were talking earlier about how Ben's approach is that he tries to ruin everybody's decks around him.
He didn't get any deserts either. Like his first pick in the draft was the green rare desert card that gets +1/+1 for deserts in play in your graveyard, and he has 1 desert.
Yeah,
and his colors weren't like the heavily played ones. Like there were multiple red deserts in the draft, and I was hoping to be able to wheel one, but you're playing red, and of course Siggy's playing red, and so it became much less likely for that to happen. Plus, other people wanted deserts.
Yeah. So
Ben just put nothing in the graveyard?
Yeah, put nothing. His creatures are already in play.
All right, good beats.
Yeah. Ooh, and Siggy draws another double red card. This one, though, not one that he necessarily wants to cast at this point anyways. Siggy just really wants to draw into another mountain, and then he can get rid of the aerial
what that draw does is it allows him to actually make more risky attacks, just because you get to draw those tricks out of Ben that he's likely to have, that he's been representing, and maybe he uses all of them, and then you just cast the hour. Of course, Siggy right now doesn't have a follow-up, so it's not great, but it is an option.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I think like you were saying earlier about Ben's strategy, I don't know if that's actually as good a strategy now as it used to be back in the day. Like,
it's 100% not as good as it used to be. Yeah,
right.
100%.
When you guys started playing, you were struggling. Everybody even in a regular You get like 20 playables, and then
Yep.
you have the last 3 cards are like stinkers. Now, you lay out your deck, you have 27 playables, and you have to decide, which ones you're going to cut to make your deck the best it possibly can be, just because the packs have way more playable cards. Wizards is better at designing sets than they used to be. So it's harder to cut people off of decks.
It's definitely become that way where you can't cut people off of having playables, where in the before they literally would not have playables, but you can certainly cut people off of having cards that are above replacement level or like real medium, which is essentially what he's trying to do. It's not nearly as dramatic, but again, like the cards are too powerful. There are too many good cards, especially in this draft, and then it didn't line up especially well.
All right, so we have a block happening, and we're going to see a trick from Ben.
Yeah, I assume cash in the synchronized strike. It becomes interesting now because he could have pumped this striker up 3 times, and now he's pretty much signifying that he's got another 3-mana trick. I assume he's going to leave up 3 mana here. So
yeah,
Siggy with deckless is going to be able to pinpoint pretty easily as to what's up. Of course, if he doesn't find a mountain, he's just so far on the back foot that he's going to die. But I mean, he's taking how much this turn? 5, 7.
Yeah. So, well, he found his mountain. So this is a spot where he has. I mean, he could fire off his puncturing blow.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, firing off the puncturing blow isn't super negative because the creature would come back anyway. But you are not forcing Ben to take a turn to do that.
Right. And I mean, the reason to play puncturing blow would be if you're going to attack and try and get stuff to happen.
Right.
Looks like that is in fact what Siggy's going to do. Looks like he's going to puncturing blow and serve with his team, or at least maybe the 2 big ones.
I don't think he can serve with everything because that will leave him dead on board.
No.
He can certainly start to do work.
Well, I mean, not dead on board, right? Because Ben can only pump up his
1
striker
point short.
once, and there's a counter, yeah. But
sure.
But I think the 2/2 is unlikely to attack just because there's a 2/4 on the other side.
Yeah, that's a good reason to.
But the other two creatures probably getting frisky. Yeah. Ben's 12. He has to spot, I think. All right, maybe. He's going to first see if Siggy has a trick, I guess. I don't actually think if you're in Ben's spot that you necessarily want to make this trade, yeah. Okay. So he makes that trade, which I think is actually good for Siggy because it preserves his life total more.
Yeah, I mean, he's still taking 4 here. So he's going to be forced to cast this hour next turn.
Definitely. And Ben definitely looks to be way ahead with the strike. He's going to have the striker in his yard. He's going to have either a 1/3 in hand or a card from it, and he's going to have the market half.
Yeah, he can cast market right now. He's going to get the Prowler. All right, it's a reasonable draw for Siggy. It gives him at least a creature to follow up with. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Good call. Good call.
It's not.
Read him like a book.
Not a great creature because it.
I mean, it's one of the biggest creatures he has, right? Like Siggy's deck just has 10 aerial guides.
Yeah. Ooh, well, Ben drew his favorite card of the set.
That thing should just about do it.
Yeah.
So Siggy's going to need to rip. He's got cards like Unsummon in his deck.
And that will not do it, even though the otherwise would be a pretty good draw. Ben gets to show why Appeal of Authority is so great.
I mean, Siggy does have an Unsummon in his deck, but I can't really imagine there's any reason to. I mean, Unsummon's going to beat you anyway, so.
Yeah. and summon just kills your guy. Yeah, but I mean, you could play market first.
Yeah, that is an option.
That gives you more information. Like if you draw into 2 bricks, then you 100% have to go for it. But otherwise, you could just play a creature and play appeal and attack, right?
What is this?
I don't know.
Why did he tap 6 mana? Is that how much he thought it cost to flash this thing back?
So, yeah, so Ben drew a creature and a palm spell.
Alright, so he's not just going for it.
Yeah, he's going to give Siggy one more turn.
Okay, so he's going to force the chump block, but not just...
Yeah.
Alright, I like that. I think that probably
I like that too.
Especially, with the authority in the graveyard and the gift in hand, if he did have unsummon, Ben is still a massive favorite to win, because Siggy would have to play multiple creatures out and not attack.
Right, and his card in hand would have been an unsummon, so he would only have 1 draw for the turn.
Right, yeah. So you'd have to, obviously there are things that exist that can help. I don't know that any of them are in Siggy's deck. So Ben takes game 1. Can't imagine he has a playable card in the sideboard after what we saw game 1.
The other potential play that Ben could have made there was he could also have used the fire breathing ability, plus the front half of the appeal just to threaten lethal.
Right. Then you just
having to
play
cast the
another
other
creature. Yeah. No, I mean that was always on the table.
I think playing the other creature is better though, just because, again, because he did draw the gift that he has lethal threat.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what Siggy's looking to board here. Ooh, looks like Appeal the Authority is coming out for Ben, despite it winning him the first game. See, that's a sign of a great player that you can realize when a card's not actually good in a matchup, even if it was good in one individual instance.
What is he boarding in? Consign to deliver? I don't believe that card was in his main deck. The sideboard screens are a little small for me to see.
Yeah, they're a little small, but
is that a haze?
Yeah, he's got haze
in the 4-drop slot. Okay.
He's trying to mess with Siggy's head. I don't know. I have no idea what's actually going on. It's kind of both players, of course, have access to each other's deck lists, so they get to do leveling of kinds. The thing is, there's not too many playables besides your main deck in team draft, so. So you can see Siggy looks like you take a mulligan, and has an aerial guide on top with a few lands. That seems like a pretty clear keep. Ben's got a few lands, a Manolith.
We'll get the screen switched back to game mode momentarily.
Yeah, and here we are.
Your team is all about these cutting survivors and aerial guides, huh?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, there were a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean between you and Siggy, you have 9 of each.
Luis and Ben both have their own aerial guides too.
Were there 10 of them in the?
There's just a million
packs
of them.
Whatever?
Every pack had one. I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'll take this other card instead. One of them will wheel, and I was right. I wheeled like 2 of them or whatever, but the others didn't come back. It was a weird draft, right? So here we see the hyena.
Card off screen.
I think we get to see the hyena in its natural habitat, the battlefield.
Can't tell if that's his graveyard or he's got like a mountain or something in hand.
Well, he's got 2 cards according to 3 cards now after drawing the hour. I don't know what his card is. It looks like a mountain. All right. He gets in a bold 1 point of damage.
Extremely bold. Ooh, that's a good job.
Well, it's looking pretty bad for Siggy here, I've got to say. Though I guess
he's just going to cast Hour 6 times and go 06.
He can cast Hour and Loot in response, though. That's one of those sweet plays you get to make. Your Seeker.
There it is.
There it is. Yeah.
The perfect card to loot away.
I don't know. I think that's that. There's a lot of other cards that you'd rather loot away. Because if you're going to Hour, you do get to.
This was a 5/6, right?
Yes, it is a 5/6. It is the bane of Siggy's existence, unless somehow he can convince Ben to block it with the Seeker gets blocked by the Hippo. Ben's like, yeah, let's do this. This is a smart play. But I somehow think that Ben is not going to fall for that.
Also, Ben drew his 1 desert.
Yeah.
Well, Ben's going to play around things like Essence Scatter here, I think. Everyone has 3 cards and does nothing, just passes.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a reasonable card.
Well, there's a real follow-up to the Hour.
Yeah. I mean, Siggy's hand is full of cards that he can cast, except for that, or cycle. All right, Loot. Here we go.
Kenra down. Is there anything he can draw where he doesn't discard this Kenra? Is it better than Mountain or not? When you have a river or whatever.
I think it's probably better than Mountain. Siggy's very likely to draw another land, and the way he's playing this game, he wants it to go a while longer.
Oh, it's not. It won't.
Oh, it's not. It's not. The way
this game is super over. We're about to be 2-2 here. Yes. Ben is giving Siggy the business, and so we're gonna have Siggy against Luis at the Battle of O2s, and it's gonna be a pretty important match for how this plays out.
Oh yeah. I mean, when the every match.
I'm not going to pretend I can hear a single word that's coming out that isn't robot noises.
Well, we get to see more Magic being played. That's a big benefit for everyone. Especially, watching Ben's deck is the delight.
He's got the combo where you can stack his desert to his desert guy and still be able to pump it with being in the graveyard.
Yeah. I mean, Ben just thought of all the
That's killer combo. That would be the type of deck that.
Yeah. This is the type of deck you only really see a master or a fool draft, And so you just get to know, from Ben's reputation, you think the master, but Ben
has drafted essentially this deck every time, and he's won matches. Usually the people around him have much worse decks than they do this time, but right now the 2 people he's passing on his left and right are both 1-0.
Yeah, well, but Siggy's going to be 0-2, so...
Right, Siggy on the complete other side of the table of Ben, being fed to by me, is going to be 0-2. Yeah, that is true. But...
Well...
Yeah, I don't... My point of that was that I don't actually know if Ben's decks are bad. All these cards are reasonable cards. He's playing a reasonable defensive deck. It's not necessarily the best thing to be doing against Blue Hour or the Scorpion God or, insult to injury that Steve has. There's a lot of reasons why you wouldn't want to be doing that in this particular draft, but they're all rares, and what can you really do? You're going to draft the best deck you can with what's available. Whether this is it or not, I don't know. I'll go through the draft viewer afterwards, but Ben has shown that he definitely knows what he's doing. At least in some
Whereas I don't know, does
he
know what he's doing with regards to the ability to trample? All right, he does. So looks like we are now tied up 2-2.
So yeah, the dream here right now is for us to continue splitting matches to get down to 4-4, because match 9 would be Siggy versus Luis. And whoever goes 0-3 loses the draft for their team, and that'd be kind of cool. A lot of blame to be distributed there. Okay, so that does it for round 2. We're now tied 2-2. Gonna get a couple more matches up in there. Me and Alex are gonna get back to playing, and We'll see who can pull ahead. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Looking for a challenge?